The Soybean School on RealAgriculture.com is brought to you by Pride Seeds, Nodulator Pro, and Cruiser Max Vibrance Beans.
Bernard Tobin back with Phil Shaw under the Agrodome on the Soybean School. Sir, hey, thanks again for hanging with us and talking a little bit of a market outlook.
Well, it's certainly a pleasure. Glad to be here.
We're going to talk soybeans this time, and I guess the conversation starts with China, the U.S. trade war. Are we going to have to just hang in there on this one?
I think so. This has been very difficult. It's interesting. All last winter, even the year before, when I was speaking in public, I would talk about the president and his view on China, and we could almost see this happening. And then last July 6th, when he imposed steel and aluminum tariffs on China, and they retaliated with a bunch of things, including a 25% tariff on U.S. soybeans, we saw a reduction in the futures market of about $2, $2.50 a bushel in soybeans. And 1 out of 3 American soybeans used to be exported to China. They used to send about 30 million metric tons to China a year, 30 to 36 million metric tons of China a year. This year, 1.3, and that was just announced the other day. So that's a huge drop in demand. We used to talk about the insatiable thirst that China had for soybeans, but it's gone to a large extent from the North American continent. We hope it comes back, but because we have a direct relationship with price with Chicago, it affected Ontario producers here. So now everybody's hoping that this is over and that the Chinese start buying. But we both know that Brazil and Argentina have soybeans coming on stream next month, if not this month, and China will be able to buy from them for the rest of their needs. So to answer your question, we have to kind of wait and see, because we really don't know what may happen with that. Mr. Trump, I hate to criticize his style. I would just say that he's very quick and impulsive sometimes. And what I did say earlier, when I spoke earlier on the markets earlier in the fall, was we'd see what happens at the G20. We did see it. He kept saying we got an agreement with China, but we still haven't seen the sales hit the coast of China yet. And so that's a difficult thing to measure. I hope we get back to normal someday. Not exactly sure when that will be.
When you look at, I guess, the acreage pulling to and fro in the U.S., corn versus soybeans, this impact, how does that play out over the next few months, and how do you price and get into this market? Well,
the high in corn over the last maybe 2 or 3 years has occurred June and July. Soybeans, it's not quite that way, but it tends to happen before the crop is made. So as we go forward, first of all, what you have to look at now is what's happening in South America, and to see how the market reacts to that. Because if there's another big crop coming on, and USDA says 122 million bushels of soybeans, that's a huge crop in Brazil, and things will probably just get more bearish from there. However, if they have problems there, that could put some price excitement in. But still, back here in North America, the Americans have 955 million bushels of soybeans on the ground, and that's a real problem. So unfortunately, the soybean price fundamentals are bearish. We're partly being helped here in Ontario by the value of the Canadian dollar, which really affects the soybean basis here in Ontario.
That's what I was going to ask you. How are you going to be watching and measuring the dollar?
Well, we're at 74 cents or 75 cents now. I'm not exactly sure what it's doing today. That has been a huge stimulus to Ontario cash prices, especially soybeans and wheat. Now, having said that, it's kind of like a price mirage, because the futures price for soybeans is still $9 or a little bit more for November 19. And if we had a par dollar, we'd be way below that on our cash prices. So I've often talked about this in my writing before. These are kind of a mirage. I mean, it's happening because of foreign exchange. So how's it affecting our purchasing power? Well, actually, it takes more of those Canadian dollars to purchase things made other places, like farm equipment and other things. So the way I look at it is generally speaking, The Canadian dollar value it moves in an inverse fashion that the U.S. dollar does. U.S. dollar moves up, that tends to mean the Canadian dollar moves down, and vice versa. It doesn't always happen that way, but that's the way I look at it. The other thing I do is, in Ontario, we're kind of flat price sellers.
Right.
So if we got a 74-cent dollar and the futures price today on March is $9, how about if the futures price is $9 2 months from now, but the Canadian dollar is 80 cents? Well, we've lost on the cash price there. So a lot of producers will look at just the flat price and what they can do, and then they contract for that price. And over a period of years, I've wondered about that, but I think there's some value in that.
I hear this week, producers talking about, $12 contracts. Hamilton for 2019, 1150 old crop. How do you factor that in?
Oh, I don't know. Like, nobody knows what the price will do, and I don't know either.
Do you lock some of that?
I don't know. I always say you market where you're profitable and comfortable, and if guys are comfortable and profitable with that, there's no bad reason not to. But I don't know what the price will do more than you do or anybody else. People that do, the road is littered with people who thought what the market will do, and I don't know. All I say is you have to immerse yourself in the market factors and make the decision where you're profitable and comfortable. And I often say daily market intelligence. Yeah. Daily market intelligence is key to knowing where you're at. In Ontario, we have excellent price transparency. You can go to the Grain Farmers Ontario website and get all the prices at different locations during the day and keep abreast of these things, and that will help you market the crop.
Right.